A personal friend of mine named Steven has asked me a question. He's considering dropping out of college and just, I don't know, maybe just going straight into exactly what you want to do in life instead of spending 4 years in a freaking petri dish called college, wasting time and money, learning things out of a textbook when you could be learning them hands-on and directly in accordance with your passion and the necessity required to learn things on a functional case-by-case basis. Shocking, right? Right behind me is two colleges. Literally, two colleges are right there. There's building number 1, college 1, and right next to it, in the back there, is college number 2. Two colleges in the same shopping center region. That's why I'm doing this video here, to make a point. Colleges nowadays are becoming like fast food restaurants. I mean, they're popping up everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's another one. It's just popping up. They're in shopping centers now. They're next to the McDonald's, and they're in between the Subway and the McDonald's now in a shopping center. Colleges are beneficial in a corporate centralized power society. That was always their primary purpose. It was a way to outsource workforce training and force people, workers, and students to pay for their own training. Public schooling is to get the fundamentals of behavior down: obedience, follow orders, do what you're told, general overall collectivism. You're not an individual, you're wearing your uniform, and you're all equal in the workforce. That's what public school is there for. But instead of corporations having to pay for public schooling, they just called it a public service. Public school is good for you, and the taxpayers foot the bill for their own enslavement. And college is just the extension of that. It's where you start to specialize a little bit more in your talents. You learn a little bit more specific stuff so you can finally get a job. But the fact of the matter is that college did not always exist. And some of the smartest people in the history of the free market enterprise either skipped college or dropped out, and they're gazillionaires. So, there goes that. I'll put it to you like this. The only reason you need college is if you're going to go serve a centralized corporation. But that's the catch. If you choose not to go to college, which is the easy way, it's the conveyor belt. It's the one where you just step on the conveyor belt. Just step on that conveyor belt, get on it, and you just go straight down a line into the machine. And if you followed the rules, if you obeyed commands, if you lived up to somebody else's standards on what is and what is not good, you'll be accepted. You'll get your consistent paycheck. You'll be able to retire at 65, and the American dream complete. And that's fine. If you want to take that route, go ahead. Personally, I wouldn't do it. And one of the reasons I'm personally annoyed by people who take that route is usually the people who take that route are the same people who vote. That's a very big generalization. Not everybody who takes the route is evil. Not everybody who works for a corporation is evil. And not all corporations are evil. Generalizations here. But I do kind of have a personal thing against people who choose not to think, because usually the people who choose not to think are the people who vote. And, through their voting, through their taxes, they get tyrants to impose their will on us by ballot box fiat. So, but that's a bit of a side tangent. Here's the thing, Stephen. Here's the catch. If you don't want to go serve and sell your soul to a corporate entity, if you don't want to waste your time in college learning irrelevant bullshit, primarily just so you can get a certificate that is a social ego booster more than anything else. College is not really about learning. That's why most people hate learning when they go to college. All they really care about is the degree, the social ego boost status you get from a degree. If you don't want to take that route, that means that you're getting off the conveyor belt. There's the conveyor belt right behind me. Let's imagine this sidewalk is the conveyor belt. That means you're going to step off the conveyor belt into the wilderness of uncertainty. I just came up with this metaphorical landscape. It actually works pretty well. You're going to step off the conveyor belt, but what's on either side of the conveyor belt? On either side of the conveyor belt is wilderness. These trees here is uncertainty. And that's the thing. That's the cost of not stepping on the conveyor belt and taking the predicted route in life. The cost is uncertainty and risk. But I personally believe that the benefits of stepping off the conveyor belt far outweigh the risks. Number one, if you hadn't been put on the public school conveyor belt from day one when you were 4 years old, if you hadn't been put on that conveyor belt to begin with, then maybe you would be already accustomed to risk, to uncertainty, and having developed the ability to adapt to the moment and just ninja style Bruce Lee your way through any life challenges. That may have been a possibility. So really, the costs, those risks of stepping off the conveyor belt and into the wilderness, they're not really that bad, because here's the thing. Although there are risks and there is uncertainty, the fact of the matter is that the more you confront risks and uncertainty, the easier it is to confront risk and uncertainty. You can develop strength. You can develop the ability to be agile, to adapt to the moment when spontaneous things arise. That is the greatest strength in life. The greatest strength in life is not the ability to pre-plan 20 years into the future with your secure bank account and all these and your secure job and your 401k. That's not strength. That's fear and excessive scrambling and pre-planning to avoid possible outcomes. True strength, true evolutionary capacity, in my opinion, in my experience, is the ability to adapt to the moment, adapt to spontaneous changes as they occur, being resourceful enough in the moment, being confident and self-certain enough in the moment to figure things out as they pop up. So, I think that's the most important thing to point out to anybody who wants to step outside the college industrial complex and do things in a way that is more aligned with their individual interests and goals. You know, the system wants you to believe that if you don't conform to their standards, if you don't get a degree in conjunction with their standards, that you're going to be a failure. That's total bullshit. That's a total lie. I think the most important advice I have to give you, my friend, well, is number one, you've probably seen my past videos where I talk about the Icarus Deception. It's Seth Godin's book, The Icarus Deception. It's a must-read if you're going to take this route in life. If you're going to not go through college and create and basically, to not go to college in your situation basically means you're not going to waste your time doing things that are irrelevant to your goals. You're going to create an educational course for yourself because you're going to keep learning. Even if you don't go to college, you're going to keep learning, but the learning is going to be more acute and subtle and relevant to your exact needs. It's going to be a Google search when you need it. It's not going to be arbitrarily this fast-foodized, generalized frickin' education that is spoon-fed to us through these degree factories, the ones behind me here. So, I'm not going to sit here and talk about the economics, because I've talked about it a lot in my previous videos. I'm not going to talk about the economics, like the fact that we're living in the connection economy now. That's all in Seth Godin's book, okay? And just to cover it very briefly, because we no longer live in a corporate factory world, yes, the corporations are still there, but the internet, the explosion of communication between the masses has helped decentralize power and wealth to the point where it's in much more diverse places and there's much more opportunities now. Meaning you don't have to go through these centralized degree factories to make a living in life anymore. You don't have to do that anymore. Now you can be local. You can be individual. That's what the connection economy is. That's what the internet revolution is. Seth Godin talks about it all. I highly recommend his book. What I am here to tell you is not so much the economics. Read Seth Godin's book. But I am here to talk to you about, and I've pretty much already mentioned it, but I'm really here to tell you about the fundamental personality traits that are required if you're going to make this choice in life. The choice to step off the conveyor belt. The choice to step off the conveyor belt and into the wilderness of uncertainty. This wilderness right here. See, conveyor belt, clean, predictable. The wilderness, uncertain. But, again, we are trained to believe that fear is this permanent thing. If you're born kind of a scared, hesitant person, that's who you are. And it's not true. You can overcome fear just like you can lose weight. Just like you can go to the gym and get stronger. You can become more fearless by confronting fears. And fear is the primary thing holding 90% of people back. Because most people hate school. It's a common sentiment. It's like underlying in the subtleties of the culture. People hate school. No one likes doing essays. No one likes doing exams. We fucking dread it. We fucking hate it. The only reason we do these fucking little hurdles that society puts up for us is because we are told without them we're not going to be able to eat. You understand? So those are all illusions. And once you realize that's propaganda, the next step is to start taking action, to start making choices that lead you out off the conveyor belt and allow you to more effectively navigate the wilderness. More effectively navigate the wilderness of uncertainty. That is not always going to be a wilderness. Because as you tread through this uncertain wilderness, this thing we call your destiny, your true path in life, a path that is unique and special to you. As you begin to tread through this wilderness, you start to pave paths. The wilderness makes way for you. It's like the Matrix. It is not the spoon that bends, it is you. You know, at the end of the Matrix film, when Neo awakens from the dead, and he puts his hand up and he stops all the bullets that the agents fire at him, and you see him like flex his muscles, and you see through the Matrix code vision, you see the entire hallway ripple around him as he moves. Life is very much like that in many ways. You are a participatory element of the universe. You are not just some fragment going through this scary world. You are a part of the world. And as your consciousness changes, as your approach to life changes, the world around you begins to change. And the wilderness of uncertainty, the wilderness of taking the uncertain path will be paved. It will be paved by you as you walk through it. It will make room for you. It will part, and you will begin to navigate it more effectively. And that's when the opportunities will begin to arise. You'll find opportunities behind tree trunks. I hate to be so fucking metaphorical, but you'll find opportunities in places you never thought possible. But it begins with a choice. Elliott Hulse did a video not too long ago, like last week, titled "Do Something Dangerous Now." He's right on. Maybe this is that something dangerous you had to do. Listen, if you're going to invest all this time and money in a college for 4 fucking years, why not invest 3 months in not going to college? I tried to convince my brother to try this before he went to college. It didn't work. I said, if you're going to make this gigantic choice, 4 years in college, all this money, all this time, and the possibility that whatever you're majoring in 4 years is not relevant to the marketplace and you're going to end up unemployed, which is a huge fucking risk. If you're going to do all that, why not take 3 months out of your life to try the alternative route, to get off the fucking conveyor belt and step into the wilderness? 3 months. Just try it. Take a semester off and see what happens. It always baffled me how people will take the huge risk of 4 years in college time and money and all that and the debt, but they won't just take a semester off and try life without the predetermined paths. Take a semester off. See what happens if you reclaim your own power. See what happens if you leave the factories. If you leave the fucking factories that are popping up everywhere in shopping centers like McDonald's. And you try to reclaim your destiny, reclaim your humanity, reclaim what matters to you, and honor it, instead of sacrificing it for impersonal, centralized corporate whores that'll do anything for green pieces of paper. Hope that helps. As always, read Seth Godin's The Icarus Deception. Take care, bitches.